What is up, Solana Circuit viewers? We are back with another edition of the Solana Circuit. This is episode 22, believe it or not. David, how you feeling now that we're on episode 22? That's absolutely insane,
Dude,
actually.
that actually is insane, especially considering we started this out just doing like spaces from like my phone or like laptop or whatever, and now we have like our faces on camera and we're doing all this kind of crazy stuff. And somehow it took 22 episodes to get all the tech issues sorted out, or 21. No, last week was bad. Yesterday was good, but that wasn't a Solana Circuit episode. So the fact it took this long is I don't know what that says about us, brother.
I would say we're still dealing with some technical issues on this episode because I screwed something up backstage, but you know what? We're gonna forget about that, and we're gonna say this is a perfectly running episode because everything's fine, right?
Why would we not say that? Why would we
Exactly.
not?
Exactly. Um, but yeah, good to see you, David. And we have a very special guest with us today. We have Cesto, which they are building essentially a way for people to invest in narratives, baskets of assets, tokens, stocks, anything under the sun. If it's aligned with a narrative, then you can invest in it. And it is a very cool product, and we're super excited to have them. And we have Jason with the Cesto team here. How you doing today, Jason?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me, guys. I think this is going to be a really fun conversation, and all the tech debt issues under the rug. Don't worry about it.
Well,
Thank
wait till
you.
I say you say that now, but we still got an hour of this to go, brother. We'll see what Richard said.
I'm excited. I'm excited to get the ball rolling and chat with you guys more about what we've been cooking up with Cesto. I think that's a very accurate summary of what we've been up to. So yeah, happy to dive in.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Glad to have you on here. Thanks for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Um, I know Nate, I think, is probably more familiar with you guys than what I am. So, for my own sake and also for the audience's sake, I was wondering if you could kind of walk us through a little bit about what Sesto is building and why you feel like this is kind of like missing in the market, or why it matters for people that like that this is a niche that needs to be served right now. So, if you kind of give us, I guess, the quick down and dirty, the pitch, right?
Yeah, 100%. So, to take a step back, I think there's a big change that's occurring in the market right now. So we're all probably familiar with last decade's change, which is that more and more of media is financializing. Think Taylor Swift, Jay-Z, all these brands in the attention economy that are like building really cool things that have leveraged upon the eyeballs that they've built up over time. But I think that there's something really interesting happening that's quite in the opposite direction. We actually believe that finance is editorializing. And it's a very interesting change because if you think about it, every little thing with prediction markets becoming a really topical asset, them getting integrated into different news outlets and news centers, the town hall where everyone consumes news and information, now suddenly allowing you to trade. My fundamental belief is that within the next 5 years, these outlets of media and like editorial are where 5 to 10x the amount of trading volume is going to actually come from. And to that effect, I'm actually really excited to show you what we've been cooking up with Cesto. It's a really simple, fun little product that we've been building that lets people invest into themes, narratives, and strategies all in one click. Tell me if you can see my screen.
I'm getting a little spinny bar at the moment.
Okay.
Let me see. I'm seeing somebody's screen. I just can't tell if it's Nate's or yours.
Okay, well, let me just send you the link anyway, so that you can take a look at it async as well.
I just realized I had my mic muted. I could see your screen. It was live on the stream, so we're good to go.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, well, I'm back with it now, so you can see it. So as you can see, unlike a lot of the traditional kind of financial products that are out there that typically flaunt just their APYs or who created it. We think that there's a very interesting wave that's happening right now that's actually relevant to a lot of what you guys are doing as well with live stream and building like media and audiences on top of it. We think that over time, you're like much like my dad that like now invests only off of things off of YouTube, are actually going to invest in things based on vibes and brand and what you see on the internet. And typically for a creator as well as for an investor, it's actually very hard to orchestrate this. One way to do it is to say, hey, open 12 tabs, move money around, research the thing, test it out, and then after that you get a chance to actually go and do it. And many people drop out. It just dies as a bookmark in someone's Twitter. The other option is saying, hey, David, take my money and invest it for me. I'll trust you. It's fine. And we've seen just in the last 2 weeks how that's like really played out. And so what we've spent a lot of time doing is building or rebuilding the financial stack as if it were to be built in the 21st century, with more audiences that have the age profile of 35 and under that are currently investing into like modern age products, also to mimic the user behaviors downstream that occur off of it. And it's really focused on tasteful design and brand, because eventually we believe that people are going to gravitate towards things that feel extremely beautiful. So I'll pause there. And I'm really excited, as you can tell, to introduce this product, because I think this is going to transform how people fundamentally get in on narratives. Imagine a world where people, wake up in the morning and instead of browsing Insta, they're going to go to like Cesto and see, hey, wait a minute, what baskets are out there that reflect, new thesis? It could be the war, it could be a new game that's come out, whatever it is.
It's actually really interesting. And on your guys' announcement tweet that's pinned to your Twitter account, you guys say that tokens are dead, which I think a lot of people can kind of share that sentiment with how token prices have been performing lately. My altcoins are dead. A lot of other people's altcoins are dead. And it seems like the things that really do take off are narratives. And crypto investments have always been based on narratives. Since the ICO era, it's been, oh, our ICO is going to change the world. We're going to revolutionize the supply chain, or we're going to do all this crazy stuff. So please invest in us. Like, they were making these ICOs and selling people on the narrative that they were trying to merge crypto into. So in traditional investing, most people invest in like index funds or baskets of different stocks. And that's how most people participate in financial markets. So you guys are essentially bringing that to crypto, but making it a lot more flexible. So you guys are like kind of capitalizing on the attention economy that we kind of find ourselves in. And I see the Nancy Pelosi tracker, which is actually pretty funny. A lot of people talk about her insider trades, and I'm sure this tracker is doing pretty well.
Listen, her Warren Buffett, man. Nancy Pelosi and Warren Buffett right up there neck and neck, brother.
She's the greatest investor of all times. Am I right? There.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. But I see things like, like Made in America or High Growth Momentum or AI Bubble Hedge. Like these aren't just baskets of stocks, right? So how exactly do you guys differentiate yourselves from things like index funds that kind of hold a bunch of stocks into one index? Like, how do you actually financially track these narratives?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So many times we actually don't do it ourselves. We rely on the people that are absolutely obsessed with that domain. So think, the intern that went to the Hormuz Strait curating like a basket that surrounds that, or the person that potentially when the 12 tons of Kit Kat got stolen, there was like a clear like market opportunity when Nestle rallied all the way up to the top. And so there are people out there that are genuinely obsessed with their like little niche, whether it's oil and gas or defense stock. And we believe that there's a world where these are the people that are keeping track of the news. They're building distribution around it. They're live streaming. They're tweeting about it. And so under the hood, for us, Cesto is a pretty pretty token agnostic platform. So what that means is, under the hood, we're not thinking about whether it is a particular brand of of offering. In some sense, as long as it has sufficient liquidity, it meets like certain requirements. At the end of the day, I think anything can be bundled into a position. So think of a world where you can not just buy Nvidia, but buy Nvidia a perp on it, as well as like a prediction market position that they're going to hit the quarterly return, and data center and electricities. This is what really smart investors are doing out there to either hedge against positions that they have or double down on the positions that they're about to take on. And what we're doing effectively is giving them a very simple container to package these up and potentially, share or create them for themselves over time to build alpha and build this. And on top of that, building sort of a reputational layer that lets you monetize on the content and the distribution that you have. Effectively, a person that was obsessed in the past had only one way to monetize. And it used to be like saying, hey, I'm putting out content. Eventually, if you like my content, then, that's well and good. But hypothetically, like that typically has a way to fail because, you could keep switching allegiances. But in this case, you actually have a way to put conviction and money where your mouth is in some sense through the use of baskets as the container. And so this is a very unique financial primitive that we don't think has existed in the past that can suddenly create the financial outcomes where you're now able to get in on trades either by Nancy Pelosi or by someone that is really, really obsessed with a particular thing going and happening in a market. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, what was the joke a couple weeks back was Citrini analyst number 6 or whatever? That was actually over in the Strait of Hormuz, actually just taking pictures and videos and stuff and live streaming and no, I'm actually here on the ground, watching what's actually happening. It's that's the guy you want to be managing and talk and making decisions about a portfolio or about a trade. You're that guy's watching it literally with his own 2 eyes right there. And, thank God he made it home alive and all that. But, that guy's literally sitting there hoping he doesn't get blown up while he's doing all this stuff. That's the guy you want kind of running these sorts of things, right?
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think, where you have skin in the game, eyes on ground, and definitive arbitrage on your knowledge, all of a sudden you have really interesting brand that builds up with that specific thing. And we think that Citrini research, as an example, is a classic example of how mimetics and how people didn't know about Citrini research at all until that happened. And we think that these virality leads to market movements in a really meaningful way. Think Michael Berry shorting Palantir, or Kit Kats getting stolen, leading to change in Nestle stock.
Hey man, listen, just because I stole 12 tons of Kit Kats doesn't mean you got to keep out in me, okay?
I knew it was you. I knew it was you the whole time.
Shh, you're not supposed to tell people about that, man. Come on, I told you in trust.
David, I see it. I see it in your background. You've got all those Kit Kats there, man. Just give them back.
But I've already eaten half of them, man. Why do you think I'm 400 pounds right now?
Typical American, man. Typical American.
Listen, man, you give me too much chocolate, I'm not gonna know what to do with it. It's all going in my face, brother. That's my one weakness. Nate's the croissant guy, I'm the chocolate guy. You can help me pack on some pounds just by force feeding me chocolate. It's not that hard. But I did want to ask though, why specifically so we're talking about kind of these baskets of assets. Who are kind of the people you're targeting right now as far as your end users right now? Because obviously this is a crypto native product, right? And so and we're on a relatively crypto focused podcast or live stream, whatever. I don't even know what to call it, what we're doing here. But this seems like it may have even broader appeal outside of crypto markets, right? If there's a way to kind of market this and get in front of people these sort of narrative specialist driven sort of not indices, but thematic baskets. Are you guys targeting more the crypto audience or the TradFi audience? How are you guys thinking about that right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So at this point in time, we're definitely speaking and attracting a lot more crypto audiences that have a lot more vested interest in crypto, typically holding stables or Solana or any other asset, and making it very easy for them to move it around. kind of like the supermarket analogy, you come in for like maybe an all-weather SOL basket or a liquid staking basket that makes it very easy for you to play around with the existing like assets that you have in one click and move them out in one click. And then little by little, as you're like familiar with, you go to a supermarket for a box of cereal, and then you come back with some Kit Kat and back to that, or some croissant, and that's how we kind of envision the world of like investing with retail kind of like evolving. So we see our audience as people that are AI forward, crypto forward, that have currently hold stables and Solana, so some variation of like these tokens that have like in the previous cycle been lost a bit of trust in meme coins and are now looking for a new way to like embrace the memetics, but while getting access to fundamentals that might be strong. So in this case, think like the packaging or the scaffolding of it continues to be very memetic in nature, but under the hood you have like assets that might have like really, really strong fundamentals. And in addition to this, like as you rightly pointed out, David, there is a very strong applicability for the stack to actually go into a more traditional finance, like an institutional grade kind of platform. And much like Solana had this it's like has this like meme going around, which is that what started out as like memes fueled the internet, meme coins fueled like the growth of Solana, but eventually it did like land at a place where now JP Morgan Chase and like Franklin Templeton and all of these big like institutional players are taking a look at the infrastructure, and it's starting to make a ton of sense. And so what we're seeing is, in a very similar way, you're actually going to see the adoption of baskets that are thematic in nature to slowly become the natural evolution of thematic investments. Think like ARK, like Cathie Wood and ARK, like where you have like Tesla, Bitcoin, Solana, like ETH, all in like one position. You can now do that, and except the next Cathie Wood will come from like the trenches and be like on chain and actually have like deep like meaningful expertise. We want to move that like demographic that's able to do these things and make it like easier and easier. We've had like chats with very interesting people in the market that have like a background in that have like potentially never touched crypto, but have a deep like distribution, runs podcasts and like sports, etc., that have now been exposed to prediction market baskets and like sports tokens, etc., on chain, and is now able to curate and view the world with a fundamentally new paintbrush, as well as people that have done years in the traditional finance space. And for us, like leveraging upon these curators that have had a lot of deep experience in that has been like one of our big plays to bring more people onto Solana and bring their distribution onto Solana and make that more and more accessible through a simple, mobile-friendly, financially like accessible interface. And so that kind of talks through how we're thinking about it right now. But in the next like 5 to 10 years, I wouldn't be surprised if my dad, who currently invests off of like YouTube, just invest off of YouTube, but invest using Cesto, and that becomes the de facto way they interact with the crypto and blockchain.
Yeah, I mean, something David and I chat about a lot on the show is like, how are we actually going to onboard the next billion people? Crypto UX is terrible across the board. Nobody's going to manage a private key. Nobody's going to download a wallet, fund the wallet, and then go and search for all these different DeFi apps and participate on chain. It's not going to happen. It's limited to the nerds that are on chain, like tech people who understand that there are opportunities in DeFi that you can't get in TradFi. And most people just want to click a button. They just want to click a button, get exposure, and be done with it. And it feels like so many crypto projects just completely miss that mark.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's astounding how like simple the need like appears to be, and how many products skirt around the need, and like effectively like so. I 100% agree with you. I think like crypto definitely has a tendency to position itself as like quite complex to a lot of the traditional audience, and therefore like the interface between crypto to like a more traditional audience that's not, will actually come from people they know telling them that, hey, I'm building a basket or thinking about this. And then, the bridge to that will involve steps like on-ramping, off-ramping, and like just mental models that are relatable. And that's one of the reasons why Solana is so strategic for us, is that I think the community that's been built out, as well as like the infrastructure plays that are available out there, make it very easy for a traditional user to kind of come in and access it. And it's only getting better every single day. And so we think that, we're at the right place, doing the right thing at the right time at this point. It just feels really high energy, as you can tell.
Yeah, I love your energy, man. I'd love to pivot a little bit, get into kind of your background. Why did you get into crypto? What was your what initially sparked that interest in crypto for you? And what have you worked on the past that might have led you to create Cesto?
Yeah, absolutely. So started out my career as a semiconductor researcher, which is like very unconventional. Power, GPUs, like chips and systems, like deep down the trenches, which is why I was so fascinated, Nate, by the little computer in the background, because I was just telling like earlier in the green room, I love it. Like that, like Macintosh from like the 80s, is just blows my mind that like someone's got it right there.
Oh, they don't make art in computers like they used to, man. It is
I
genuinely a
swear.
work of art.
It is a work of art, and should be a collectible that people keep. And I do think that, a bit of a tangent, but I do think that much like you have that, there is going to be a wave, like a renaissance of like people bringing back like old tech, like the Walkman making a comeback, or record players making a comeback, or it happens a lot with like fashion, with like it operates in cycles. And I definitely think we're going through some version of that right this instant. We're very much living through that like right now, and it's feels like deja vu constantly, like as you kind of think about it.
It is weird because I feel like people like our age are kind of starting to experience that loop for the first time, where you're like, oh wait, like everything I thought was cool when I was like 10 is cool again now. you know
Yeah.
and it really is, because that is kind of like a lot how culture goes. I'm curious just to see, like, I wonder if that's going to play out in crypto history, like, like if in another 30 years, like we'll go back to yam coin farming just as some kind of like weird throwback, you know what I mean? Like what does that even look like? Because obviously
I
like
mean,
our lives are becoming increasingly digital, like, which is a lot of kind of what you're talking about, like even like from where we're talking about narrative driven things, where it's like when we're talking about narratives, that's not even really a concept that existed until we started having like the internet and like widespread like ability to propagate narratives and stuff like that. Because it's like, okay, I'd find out something happened like 3 weeks ago, 100 years ago, because that's how long it took for the guy on the horse to ride with the paper to say like this happened, and then the newspaper has to print it. It takes another week for me to get the paper. It's like, oh, that happened a month ago. Whereas now it's like we're kind of all surrounded with like, oh, this is happening right now. Like we're kind of immersed in these things. And so,
yeah.
it changes markets, it changes kind of everything. I'm really curious to see kind of like what that looks like, when we're all like old and cranky in the nursing home together. Like I remember when, we'll be our parents or grandparents, like I had to walk uphill both ways. I remember when I had to sign my own transactions, and like the NFTs, you had to have reserved this much space on the blockchain. It costs this much. And people are gonna be like, shut up, grandpa, go to bed. Like, you know.
I swear, I think there's definitely very much going to be a romanticization of the past. You already see it in some sense when the suits come in. People are like, "Hey, I remember when crypto used to be just like a couple of guys in a garage, just jamming along and trying out different things." And then look at all the change in the kind of like way in which these people are hiring right now. And I definitely think we're seeing like some version of that. And to your point earlier about history repeating itself, I find that like fundamentally and philosophically, like we as humans always go back to like the fundamentals, which is we back each other on the basis of stories, lore, and gossip. And if you think about it, like Cesto's entire premise is based on the fact that people back people and people back simple ideas. At the end of the day, if you think that stock disclosures by politicians have a lot of weight, then that is like a broader theme that you're going to invest into. I mean, the end to doing that is going to be the means to getting there is probably going to be that you buy like specific like stocks, you do a certain research. I think we've been doing this since like the dawn of time, but it's just the container of how we've done it that's evolved like over and over again, across the course of years. And I genuinely do think that we're like suckers for good stories, right? Am I right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I personally hope that the 10 million% APR yield farms come back. I hope we
Me
can
too.
run back
Me
that
tue.
narrative. Those were great.
Those were
And
the
it's
greatest days of crypto. Am I right? Like, oh, I love those.
they were like you deposit like $10, you check back in 10 minutes, and all of a sudden, oh, it's $30. I mean, it's gonna go to zero the next day, but it's fun watching the number go up for like 10 minutes. So I don't know. I hope maybe those will come back. Maybe we'll go full circle, but who knows? In some ways, that felt a lot safer than some of the DeFi protocols that are out here today. Uh,
Yeah,
but
100%, 100%. It feels less like playing roulette with like Russian roulette with your money, and like more just methodical, and largely everything just went up and to the right. So you're kind of in a good spot. But yeah, to come back, Nate, to your question, in terms of background and how I got into crypto, so funnily enough, one of my classmates from school went to Waterloo with Vitalik, and so she would come back from university and keep like saying talking about crypto as like this new thing that is taking over the inner circles and the inner trenches of like Waterloo University. And by this point, like Vitalik had dropped out, and so I kind of went back and said, hey, I'm on a student budget, but let me see if I can like get a credit card, like allocate some of my like lunch money to this thing, and like bought some into like my like hacky really clunky user experience wallet, and like put it in there. Goes without saying, I lost my keys, and this is the kind of stuff that happens from time to time when you're that early into the cycle. But I mean, I feel a lot better knowing that I didn't sell. I think a lot of my friends like definitely sold when things hit double digits, and they were like, oh, made a killing. Like this is it. I definitely feel like they feel more like the pizza delivery, like the most expensive pizza delivery, like the person that paid using Bitcoin. They feel a lot more like that because they sold like super early. But yeah, I mean, with crypto, I think the best worldview has always been to like try things, see it as a toy, try different things, and kind of learn. I still view it as something that I learn like something new every day with. And so shortly after kind of doing my time as a semiconductor researcher at Texas Instruments, I moved into like Celo Foundation. It's a layer one blockchain, like and built like some of their key kind of products and grants infrastructure across the course of 4 years. One of the most flagship thing that we did there was build a product called MiniPay, a stablecoin wallet that grew really, really big all across like Africa, Latin America, and like Asia. And it currently even has like more north of like 10 million monthly active users that currently use it on an ongoing basis to pay for school bills and like their phone recharges and a whole host of other things. So having built that, it gave me a lot of like exposure and conviction to this world of like, hey, like if you bring financial accessibility to people, you're suddenly going to unlock like not one person going to school in a family, but two people going to school in a family, or just more for everyone. And I think that currently, just everyone sees news, and news has been democratized and editorialized. But what's missing is the fact that you can now do things with the news. And I think that is the world that I wanted to create. And that's where the idea of Cesto was born. It's like, how can we create a world where anyone, anywhere in the world that has access to news in the internet, which is over a billion people, can now come on the, on chain and transact and figure out like, cool things that they can do with that information that they have. And this, like the container for doing that just happened to be like baskets. And we think that baskets are going to be the financial primitive that is going to fundamentally transform the whole of like the next decade. And we're very excited by it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really cool idea. I also I want to get your take on obviously like a bunch of these you're talking about, that people can see news and sort of democratize access to, the financial implications of things that are actually happening going on around them in the world, where a lot of people, for whatever reason, based on geolocation, based on social status, whatever it might be, don't have access to something like a brokerage account. And 10, 20 years ago, that just meant, okay, you're fucked. Like you can't, okay, you might be a trading analyst or whatever, or somebody sitting there going like, I think this is going to affect oil, but there's nothing you could do about it. Right. But I think obviously crypto democratizes access to financial markets, but also much more recently, we've been seeing sort of this trend in real world assets and things coming on chain. I know this isn't directly like what you guys are doing specifically, but how valuable has this process of a lot of these assets sort of coming on chain been to enabling the vision of what you guys are building here, like today here at Cesto?
Yeah, I think we're like that's a great question. I think real world assets coming live has been one of the biggest, if not the biggest, catalyst to a product like Cesto existing in the next decade. We think that the pace at which volume on chain, like last week, it was like 2 billion, and the number of assets is growing like every single week. There's like new asset issuers like building assets like directly underneath. We work with all of the leading kind of asset issuers, whether it's like Ondo, X stocks, etc., to like package these up in a meaningful way inside like Cesto. But that said, I think more and more there's people all across the globe that previously didn't have access to like brokerages that are now coming live using this. Fun fact: less than 20%, or I want to say like not 20%, about 18% of the global US equity market, as well as like oil and gas, like commodities, like all of that is accessible outside. And for the portion that is out of that 18%, 99% of that is actually accessed by like governments, like big institutions, and like retail doesn't actually have a lot of good ways to access that.
Yeah, it's
And
like JP
so
Morgan's like Japanese arm or something like that, or their branch over in
exactly.
Singapore or something. Yeah.
Exactly. And these are the folks that have like access to narratives and the ability to do that. And I think that's very quickly changing. And crypto, we're definitely riding the coattails of crypto in creating that story for accessibility. Solana's like message has always been like all assets all in one place, for anyone. And I think that like fundamentally will create a very interesting world. I can totally envision a flippening happening where there's going to be more like volume that occurs on these things on Solana as compared to like popular like large scale exchanges like the Nasdaq, etc. And this is happening little by little, surely but steadily. And we're definitely out here playing the long game with this.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you've had a lot of experience building in blockchain technology. Pretty cool you were working in semiconductors. I initially in college wanted to be a computer engineer, but I was really bad at math, so I didn't end up doing that. And now I just yap on a live stream all day. Um, but I did want to ask, why did you guys choose Solana? Why was Solana like the right place for Cesto to happen, and why now?
Yeah, absolutely. So why Solana for us has been answered in a number of different vectors. But for us, I think the most important thing has been like community, access to the assets, and just the network effects that it's created. Like I think that is truly, truly unique. That hasn't like occurred in a lot of like different, like the escape velocity that has occurred here is like quite unique and substantial. Second one is I think people like game recognizes game, and I think like people just it's just so easy, it's so deeply ingrained in the culture that anytime you think you want to speak to someone, I just draft up like a nice little cold message, and next thing you know you're in a DM with like Mert for all it's like worth, right? And this I think is what the power of like a really deep, tightly knit like community that really cares about like cool products being built occurs when it occurs at like a really fundamental level creates. And I think like Solana's done a really fantastic job of that by just instilling culture. And I think it trickles downward from the founders. Like Raj and Toli are very humble and like also look at the world in a certain way that I think like reflects more and more in the proof of work that's occurring. So I think that for us is like why Solana. And for us, why now, I think has a few good answers, but I think like one of them happens to be like all of these assets going live. The projected like volume that we're seeing right now, since I started like Cesto, the volume of like RWAs is 3 or 4x on a weekly basis. Platforms like Autopilot that did $1 billion across 6 years. I can totally envision Cesto doing that in like 6 weeks on Solana, just because, and therefore after just doing that every week or every day for that matter, in a way that's like unheard of anywhere else, right? And so I actually think that's like one catalyst, which is all of these like kind of building blocks going live. And then second one is like people have gotten increasingly tired. Like if you look at the dip in meme coin volume across the course of like the last few, people want things that are fundamentally tied to the event. So, everyone loves a good meme. Like our oil and gas basket is called the Dire Straits. And, our most popular basket
Incredible band, by the way. Incredible band.
It is a lovely band. Trust me, like one part of why we named it Dire Straits is because I love the band so much. Shout out to you, David. I think you've got really good taste.
Oh, thank you. No, my dad introduced me to like 80s rock, and I love good music, man. Dire Straits and Boston, two of my all-time favorites.
What's yours, Dave?
I primarily listen to like EDM, alternative, modern music. I'm not living in Unk land like you guys.
Hey, listen, man, I enjoy plenty of that too. Okay, it's just that's less fun to talk about because I don't know, everybody kind of knows what's hot from the new stuff. Anyway, I'm just sounding like the cranky old man here. Anyway, I'll shut up now.
In another episode of Bring Back the 80s, here we go.
Yeah, this is officially an 80s music podcast now. I think I have to be kicked out.
Full pivot.
I think you guys do, by the way, I think you guys do a really, really, really good job. I've been watching some of your episodes, and I think you guys do a phenomenal job of, getting people in the zone to just chat and also just, curate like really, really good, like vulnerable, conversation arcs that are actually really hard as a podcast host. So having done these on the other side, as well as like having been on a few, I think you guys are definitely well up there.
Thank you. I think it's our undeniable love for each other that really drives the podcast forward.
It is true. Now that means a lot. Thanks so much for saying that, man. I really appreciate that. That's really cool to hear. And Nate's not wrong. It's because we're secretly lovers, actually. Just don't tell my wife. Yeah. We say on the live stream to the entire internet from multiple states away.
Don't worry. Do you think that's going to come out though at home? Let's wait for dinner. Let me know at dinner if this is gonna like go sleep on the couch.
It's like crappy reality television. It's like someone on the reality television show that says like, oh, this person can never find out about this. And then they say it live to millions of people. Is like, it's ridiculous. So kind of the same deal here, I think it's kind of the same deal.
Love it. I think you guys should have like just a Twitch stream that runs like 6 hours a day where you guys are just gapping. I think I'd watch that. I'd subscribe to it.
I did see there was like a 24-hour live stream thing that A16Z is doing. I don't know much about it, but that sounds insane.
Yeah. I think it's called MTS, if I'm not wrong.
Something like that.
It's super interesting. I think this wave of like, I've been bullish on this space before, like OpenAI acquired TBPN, but I think what you guys are doing is actually fundamentally innovative, right? Like bringing together people on like a live stream, all of these things with like different clips and videos, like short form content being generated out of it. And I think like where this like ties back to Cesto is like, as you guys start to build like meaningful distribution around it, all of a sudden you're going to start to see like, little QR codes or ways in which you guys as creators can now potentially like build like meaningful other like outlets or like other sort of revenue streams out of it. And we think that Cesto is going to become like key financial infrastructure that enables that for creators eventually. And that's kind of the vision we have for like the next like decade. Is like, if you can bring on like 10,000 of like really, really obsessed people that have like deep market knowledge on their specific domain, what could that look like? What is the world that will enable with that? And yeah, I'm very bullish on that, as you can tell.
I mean, that's what we want to hear from somebody who's building a product on it, right? Where it's like, man, if you weren't bullish, I would question what you're doing here. But I do have to say, I agree. I do think like there's this push towards almost just. I'm not even sure how best to describe it, but almost just narrative driven everything. Where it's like, because everything in the world is happening so fast right now, and it's like the thing where I was concerned about yesterday is not the thing I'm thinking about today. And I think that's true of almost everybody, right? Because so much of our lives is happening online and on the internet, and especially working in crypto, where markets, like any kind of market in general, it's just like things happen and change so fast. It's like the world's not getting slower, man. Like it's just not. That's just not happening, right? It's only getting faster. Um, so I do think we're going to see a lot more of kind of this like specialized role of like, and not just in markets and not just in marketing or online content creation, but just like that people are going to be specializing into like, I'm the guy who tracks what's happening right now in my thing, whatever that happens to be. And maybe I turn that into marketing, maybe I turn that into content, maybe I turn that into an investment fund, maybe I turn that into a trade, like whatever that ends up happening to be. Maybe I turn that into, like, let me spin up some agents and build a new product because there's all of a sudden this new niche that wasn't here yesterday. Like, I feel like this is starting to apply more and more across more and more domains. And so it's really cool to see that, like, this is that people are building tools to sort of address this on the financial side of things. I did want to ask you, you guys have mentioned like that you allow for like some of these things to involve different kind of like on-chain tokens, different, but you also mentioned like prediction markets and a whole bunch of other different things. How does the like back end or risk management structure or like the process of like who's deciding what goes in these different baskets? What does that kind of like back end infrastructure or decision making process look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have fairly, like, I think risk in crypto is definitely on a relative scale, and so we have relatively low risk baskets, like things that involve like blue chips or things that have had like Lindy effect that have been around for a while. So you could think of these as like your blue chip soul maxing like baskets that allow you to either like hold SOL in a way that's like capital efficient or like juices out like maximum yield, but the way in which we verify it is like typically like monitoring liquidity, monitoring the market movements associated to it, and anytime there's a change that like reflects something that you did not originally want or like wasn't part of the basket strategy, you get issued a specific rebalance. So that means that the position that you have in one click changes to the new position. Off late, as an example, a lot of like users have been rebalancing their USDC in stable baskets to USDT in a really interesting way, and so for us, I think what the most important thing is to make sure that the rebalances that occur happen in a really trustworthy way, and that people are exposed to information about the underlying. Because at the end of the day, we're only allowing you to create a container for the underlying trade, but under the hood, you're still interacting directly with pools on pools on like Radium, and using like Jupiter, etc. We're just building it in a certain way such that it's easy for you to access. And so at the end of the day, we actually see this as a little more secure than the other asset structures like vaults, etc. Because in essence, vaults are a structure where the example of it is saying, hey, David, give me your money. I'll invest it for you. But trust me, it'll be fine. But I sometimes don't know what it's going into. It could be like moving into different like riskier assets, etc. And the APY when I withdraw out of it could be like all over the place, and the slippage, like market risk that I'm taking on is like significant. Whereas in Cesto, what happens is that you now have a way where this container can like give you a dynamic assessment of risk. So at all points in time, if you're like moving out of like Tesla stock and moving into Ford Motors in your like automotive basket, you'll get a very clear analysis or understanding of what exactly is happening. And we use a lot of AI to actually help you like go through like market sentiment and digest it in a way that's really simple, so that you have like constant access to it. And over time, some of these like creators as well that create these baskets build a certain track record for just making good judgment calls. If you've held a prediction market position on, let's say, Liverpool FC winning the English Premier League this year, then there's a chance that you may rebalance certain positions. You may go out of like certain prediction market positions to certain positions in, like, let's say, Disney and ESPN stock that has like broadcasting rights. And so we think that over time it's going to be like this, like this risk band where you're going to have like relatively low risk like positions that you could have, and then the really high risk high reward kind of baskets. And so if you look at Cesto right now, the more like that you go down into like prediction market baskets that are like finite time but have like a certain multiplier on them, even the risk and the payout is like significantly higher, but they're like consolidating a lot of the positions all in one place and making it easier for people to access. And we actually think that that's the way in which most people are going to interact with this. Like, you're not going to buy just an NVIDIA X stock. You're probably going to buy NVIDIA X stock, data centers, electricity, and a prediction market position on like this to diversify and to make sure that your position is taken care of. And so giving that like kind of financial understanding in a really accessible way has been something that we've constantly been thinking like deeply about. I can actually show you a quick glimpse of it, to be honest, wherein, like, let's say it's the Made in America basket. We give you a lot of clear guidance on, or not guidance, but more like assessment of the risk across like different things. Like, you could have like different liquidation risks that or like commodity volatility that you're exposed to, or just different kind of retaliation risks that could like come up. And this, I think, is going to be like, we don't want to like hide the risks in any way when we're building something that wants to build trust that compounds over time. So touching like assets that are like really strong and making sure that people have like a clear understanding of exactly what they're doing under the hood in a way that's accessible is like super important to us, to build trust over time. So I hope that kind of gives you a flavor for how we're viewing the world of risk, David. But that's a really good question.
So going back to what you said about creators and live streamers having this new kind of potential monetization strategy through Cesto, I'm curious. So like, obviously, if someone was able to somehow capture the upside of a streamer like Clavicular, who's probably one of the #1 streamers on the planet right now, just mogging and looks maxing everyone on stream, right? If someone could have said, okay, I think this streamer is going to be big. Like, I could use a prediction market to say he's going to hit a certain amount of followers or subscribers by this time. How exactly would Cesto baskets be used for people to be able to capture kind of like the upside of a streamer or content creator like that? Yeah, what was your thought process?
Yeah, absolutely. So imagine a world where Clavicular now has that prediction market position about like whether or not they're going to hit like follower count, brands that they associate with, maybe brands they're wearing, brands that they're sponsoring or talking about, like all like packaged neatly into a Clavicular like basket, as well as like positions that they hold in the market. So things that they directly endorse, like all packaged in a way that they feel strongly about. All of a sudden, like just by virtue of their distribution growing and their like purchasing power in the market, like their collective purchasing power in the market growing, we've historically seen this, with GameStop, Wall Street Bets, and just historically like brands growing, that this is fundamentally the way in which narratives move. So people believe that the streamer is going to be huge. And that is only a precursor to the virality that then leads to like market movements in that. What we're doing is we're saying, hey, if you think that this is the truth, the market movements can start to occur right now because the asset classes have already arrived. And so now all you need to do is like bundle them up and package them up in the right way to actually have like the right people show up and interact with them. So I think whatever is happening is actually happening behind closed doors already. Like there are people that have already held this, or have opened 20 tabs and have like done this already. What we're now enabling is the acceleration of that in a way, in a pace that has never been seen before, because of all of the assets and the packaging that's coming live right now. And by the way, this is a great idea, Nate. I might attribute this to you as like a clavicular basket. We should actually have that. I think it makes complete sense. Don't be surprised if you see it and you receive like a little hit of joy when you see yourself as the owner of that basket.
Let's
I'll
go,
just
our
take
boy
my
moving markets.
20% fee. I'll take my 20% fee, and we're good to go.
Of course.
That is an interesting concept, though, where somebody like, let's take the example of Clivic here. I don't know too much about the guy, but I know he's into looks maxing. I don't know exactly what all that entails, but I don't know like if he is endorsing like some makeup brand or some like I don't even I don't even know what it would be like something that he uses or some gym membership or whatever. It would make sense that he would have like a basket of like, hey, like I have this my basket would be like if Clifford is the guy actually running it, or somebody who's just like really obsessed with watching his stream and like has strong opinions would say like, yes, I'm betting that he's going to hit whatever his next like follower milestone is, and that's on this prediction market. But then I'm also betting that L'Oreal or whatever, like if he's, I don't know, painting his nails with something or from them, or plus then he has, he's partnered with the HelloFresh or something, and then you put all these things together and you say like, okay, I think this guy's going to take off, and I think it's going to have an impact on the culture and how people are spending their money and thinking about things. It could very easily make sense for a thematic basket, and it wouldn't even have to be something that like the streamer themselves or even their team does for them. It could just be like the one guy who's like, I'm just the biggest fan of Clavicure, and also I'm autistic and just the right flavor to think about markets like this. And I don't say that in a denigrating way because I'm that guy, not for clavicular, but like for other things. You know what I mean? Like that's literally what I do. You can ask Nate about like my stream of consciousness spam that I just like send him 24/7 across multiple platforms. But it's basically that, like just specifically mostly to do with like marketing and crypto and Solana specifically. So there's definitely that guy out there for everything.
Absolutely. I mean, the internet accentuates, like it gives every niche, every flavor of crazy a home and a community. And I think what we're doing is saying, hey, if this community had a group chat together, what would that group chat be? And giving them the platform to do that and letting people integrate this suddenly becomes like their link tree. You can imagine their link tree suddenly become their like Cesto links platform. And yeah, I think you're on the right track there, David. And for like all of the kind of interesting niche obsessions, I think this could be like the platform for you, to be honest. I'm presenting my screen and showing like a version of like what we saw recently. So someone I know is absolutely obsessed with like Chinese like AI and robotics, and has been like deep in the trenches of this. Has no background of crypto whatsoever, but has been like reading every single publication. Has been like working deep in this space as well. Like works for one of the big kind of tech companies out of China. And like this person decided that, hey, wait a minute, it could be really interesting to create a basket that like has this niche knowledge that everyone in the world wants to get into, but doesn't have like a clear ETF or an offering in the market. Like, what if I could just be the person that curates that and creates that? And funnily enough, like that specific basket like outperformed like a lot of different kind of mainstream indexes by like by a pretty substantial margin. And I was mildly surprised because I was like, wait a minute, this guy that, think about it, like has never touched crypto before, all of a sudden looks at this and it's like, oh, I know what I can do with it. And so it comes very naturally to us as humans. I think it's always been like, hey, I could tweet about this. But I think now what we're going to see a change in is like people saying, hey, what if I could create a basket out of this? And that, I think, is the fundamental change in the world that we're going to evoke.
That is actually so cool. It's like allowing the average person to create their own index fund. Like that,
Yes.
that's insane. That's easy to understand for the average person, especially someone, if you were to capture a user like David, who has a ton of niche knowledge on a bunch of different markets, and say, hey, go ahead and make a bunch of index funds based on this very niche information that you have and make money off of it. I mean, that's a clear narrative. That's amazing.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we're here for it, David. We're here for you, and we should talk after this because it's people like you that I think are going to create the initial community of like Cesto and make it like really really huge.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely down to chat. We can kind of talk about this a little bit more. I am conscious we're running up on time. We got about 2 minutes left before we got to cut the stream, or I think before X does it automatically for us. Um, Anything you want to say? First of all, where do we find you guys? Where do we find Cesto? What should the listeners? What should we be looking to do? Obviously, you and I are going to talk later, and then maybe we'll see something pop up. We might see the clavicular basket pop up, thanks to Nate, at some point. But for the people listening, where should they be looking at? Keeping up with you guys as far as news goes. You guys got a Twitter account? Any upcoming products to show or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a few exciting kind of updates coming up. So one is very soon people are going to be able to integrate baskets into their existing products. So that I'm like super super excited about. So stay tuned on like I tweet quite a bit on my personal Twitter. That's like x.com/Jason Rodriguez, and there's also like our brand Twitter on like Cesto Co, where we bring on like more and more of our like creator guests as well to like talk more about the stuff they're doing. And of course, like I think the biggest call to action is to genuinely just try out the product. I think we've received a lot of love from all across, and it's been overwhelming to be honest to like speak and like to interact with a lot of the users and participate in the love that they're giving to the product. And for me, I think the biggest like takeaway is like I'm in the DMs of nearly all of our users constantly, and just engaging obsessively with the, like hey, what would make you want to like engage with this more or create your own basket. So I think the two main call to actions is just try the product. I think you're going to love it. And if you think that there's improvements we could make, we ship really, really fast. Just yesterday, someone said something, and then instantly we responded with like an update video and like an update. So I love to engage with the community on that front. So yeah, just keep us in top of mind, and we're very excited to be here.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Jason. This has been an awesome Solana circuit. Love your energy. Love that you're so passionate about Cesto, and super excited to see what you guys do next. But thanks everyone for coming to this Solana circuit, and we will see you Friday for the Raikou Town Hall with our CEO/founder Robin, which will be a very fun conversation. But thank you, David. Thank you, Jason, and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks so much, guys. This was a lot of fun.
Dude, so great having you. Thanks so much. Come tune in Friday, and we will see you guys all then. Later.
Peace.